Yeah, what's up, y'all? Truth Channel here. If you subscribe, thank you. I did a video the other night, but I was in my car out here and it was really dark, so I'm gonna do this again. But I want to do a video about the word enemy and how we call people in our lives enemies, and how this whole history people been talking about my enemies. You know, if I keep having this mentality where I'm calling somebody my enemy, then I'm really not living for myself. I'm more worried about them and what they're gonna do to me, and then that creates paranoia. It creates hostility. People get killed and murdered. You know, people get killed and murdered because they have enemies. You know, and some people, I realize that some people, it's kind of like a necessity. Like you need an enemy in order to fulfill something in your life, or that gives you a reason to go on because this person's hating on you, and I need haters and enemies and all this and that. I understand about the whole I need haters thing. I understand that. It gives you a drive to do better because people are jealous of you and envious of you. I understand mankind. I understand how we think. I'm a man myself. I have my own jealousies and envies. But I don't let that consume me to the point where it's taking over my life and I can't control what I do or think. And then if I am that, I admit it. I sit and talk about it. If I'm jealous, I'll say I'm jealous. I'm not going to sit there and keep the seed in me and let it roam around in my mind and drive me crazy and make me do something stupid. But this whole enemy philosophy that religion, and yes, it says forgive your enemies in scripture, and then some people say that you're supposed to forgive your enemy, but how many of us forgive our enemies? How many of us forgive someone that we say is an enemy? You know, I don't I don't have enemies. I don't think about stuff like that in my head. I'm past that. I'm way past that. There's still some people that they think that they have enemies. All an enemy is it's a problem that you haven't dealt with. It's a problem that you think that you're dealing with. You know, look at all the history of the world. One person next to another person, their enemy. And then that gives them a reason to do all of this stuff. It gives them an excuse to kill someone else and to do all of this war stuff that starves people and, you know, destroys villages and destroys people and brings suffering to people. That's all us having an enemy does, is bring suffering and pain to mankind. That's all it does. It's not a great thing that you have enemies. And I understand that for some of you, that gives you a drive in your life because you think that you need enemies. You think that you need people that are against you and all that. And let me tell you, you don't. You don't. That's just extra baggage in your life, because that's how I thought at one time. Oh, people were hating on me. This guy, I don't know him. I don't really want to get to know him. He's probably my enemy, you know, instead of talking and getting along and understanding each other's problems and where you're coming from. Right away, we go to this, they're a stranger, so they're my enemy. You know, they're another culture, so they're my enemy. It's just more poisonous stuff in our head. And then a lot of this music that goes around, it's based upon pride and you having an enemy. That's what it's based upon. And I understand a lot of people, they listen to music because of the beat, they listen to it because of the melody, but some people listen to it because of the message. And if it's a message about that, I don't listen to it no more. I don't let it go into my brain because it's just going to damage me and others around me. So why do I want to do it? Unless you're somebody that enjoys drama and hurting other people, which I please don't. But it's just everything that we have been brought up with in this system is just completely wrong. And you have to understand this. If you can't understand this, you're not going to get better. You're not going to live for you until you understand this stuff. And I'm going to keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep bashing it in people's heads. No, it's not like a preacher that bashes the Bible into your head. I'm not talking about that bashing. I'm talking about a bashing of knowing, understanding, and having common sense and logic and understanding, and then getting the knowledge and knowing it so that you can have it. So you can have it in your head and you can live by it, by your actions and what you do. And all this stuff you say, and none of that really means nothing. It does, but it doesn't. We have to hear by words, but words are cheap unless you're living by that. Anything I say, I'm living by. I'm not telling you nothing that I don't live by. And I'll use the word contradiction and hypocrisy sometimes, because I find myself doing that, contradicting myself and being hypocritical sometimes with the things I say. And I catch myself. I'm learning to catch myself when I do those type of things. But I am not a preacher. I am not a guru. I am not a spiritual advisor. I'm not any of these labels that society uses and people use. I'm not that. I'm just speaking out what's on my mind, and what I know is what it is. I'm speaking about what things really are. There's people going around. You might walk by somebody in the street and you might look at them and think, oh, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? And they might be thinking in your mind, or in their mind, man, this dude's my enemy. Man, he's trying to get me. Man, I'm going to get him. There's people that really think like that. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Like, can people see this? And then we're getting this stuff. We're getting that stuff bashed into our minds instead of this stuff bashed into our minds. If we would talk and communicate, and we would express our angers and express our feelings of what we're going through today and get it out of us and do that, we wouldn't do these things. We wouldn't have to do these things. It's just like a phone and social outlets. It's a great thing at one time, and then it's not. This has given me the ability to communicate, and that's all I want to do is communicate and get you to know in here. I don't do it for popularity. I don't do it for views and likes and for people to give me a tap on the back, a clap, and all that. I don't do it for that at all. I don't do that. I don't do it for that at all. Like I said, the only recognition that I would want is to put my name to what I do. That's it. If I make something music-wise, I want my name to be on that because I made it. Common sense. And you'll know that I made it. If I do this video, you'll know that I did this video. All the other stuff that goes along with it, that is society standards. That is the system's standards. That is the standards and the expectations that everybody has in their head that they've been indoctrinated with. Do you understand that? I don't think people are really getting to the core of what I mean when I say these things. You're either indoctrinated and you're brainwashed or you're not. And then if you're in a process of getting out of that, you will start to realize these things more and more. And it is a process. It took me years to get to the point I'm at. And I will never get to A to B point. I will never get to that. You're constantly learning. You're born and you're going to die one day. It's just constantly learning and knowing things so that you don't make the same mistakes and have to live with the same consequences. That's all I'm saying here. That's the only point that I'm getting across. There really is no end solution to anything. Things keep going and going and going, like the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going. Life keeps going. But what are we doing with our times, and what are we saying to people? What are we teaching to people? How are we provoking people with thoughts? Like, what are we putting in people's heads to make them think about and to make them talk about with other people? What are we really doing? Like, what are our motives in this thing? I ask. That's why every time, I'm not trying to judge people, but every time I watch somebody doing something or hear them and what they're talking about, I always look for the motive behind it. Why are they doing this? What are they doing it for? Where are they going with this thing? There's always a motive to everything we do. There's always a motive, and your motive is either for the right thing, it's for the wrong thing, it's for something that you might not even know why you're doing at all. So that's all I'm saying, is if your motive is wrong, everything's wrong. If your motive's right, everything's right. If your motive is to get people better, then your motive is going to get people better. It's either or. It's either or. So what are you doing to educate people? What are you expressing to others? Just sit and think about it. Think about it, and let it resonate in you. And just take a moment to realize, what are you doing in your life? Like, why are you really here? Like when you speak, just don't speak. Just don't say anything because you think somebody wants you to say that, or you think that they thought that you should say something. Do it when it really has it will have some type of impact, or it will do something for the better at that particular time. When you just speak to speak, what is that worth? When you're just speaking to speak and saying nothing. Our world is upside down today. That's how I see it. And I'm just trying to flip it back upright. And what upright exactly is, I don't know, because I'm constantly learning things. I'm constantly learning stuff, doing research, figuring out things for myself, not basing my life on what everybody else is doing and what everybody else is saying and being. If we would all do this, just imagine what it would be like. If we would all do what we love to do and to be ourselves, just imagine how different things would be if we weren't being ran by how this society's way is, and the standards and the expectations, and the way the system's built. And I understand we're involved with that. I'm not foolish in that sense. I understand. I'm involved with the system. I have a car. I have to pay bills on my car. I rent out my room. I have to pay $135 a week. But I want to get to a point to where I'm doing what I need to do for me. I don't want someone else doing it for me. So, like I said, just sit and think about, why are you watching what you're watching? What is the result going to be of that? There's never no end result. See, I want to say, what's the end result? There never is no end result. But what are we doing right now? Right now, in this present moment, right now. There is no other time but now. Time is an illusion. There is no time. That's just to remind us that it's this certain point. There ain't nothing but now. There's nothing but now. Now, right now. That's it. And what are we doing right now? What are we thinking right now? What are we saying right now? What are we teaching right now? What are we being right now? What are our motives right now? That's what needs to be talked about and thought. Not all this other stuff that we're thinking and saying. It don't mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. What means something is the right now and what we're doing with it. So with that, think about that. Later.